It's not at all uncommon for it to feel a lot safer to eat at night and for it to be a time where there's like this real surge in both physical and mental hunger. Today, I want to talk about why that might be there and what steps we can put in place to cope with it. From the top, I want to make it really clear that there is absolutely nothing wrong with feasting at night. But given that it can be very distressing, and it can often trigger other unwanted behaviours like purging, I think it's worth considering why it's there and, as I say, what we can do to cope, how we can regulate this eating behaviour. A big cause that I see a lot, and it was something that I experienced myself, was simply not eating enough throughout the day, not eating abundantly throughout the day. Even in recovery, where we encourage this idea that there is no such thing as too much, it's pretty common for the eating disorder to still have some ceiling. There's still an amount that your eating disorder deems as inappropriate or excessive or just simply too much. And so when we're working with a ceiling like that, and usually it's for a 24-hour period, it's a scarcity mindset. It's saying that I don't have unconditional permission to eat. I have a budget. It might be a bigger budget than it used to be, but I have this budget, so I am going to save it up, and it feels safer to save it until the end of the day. And one way to manage this budget is to limit the amount that you're eating during the day so that you've got a buffer. And that is what the eating disorder says. And I hope you can see there that that is just such a scarcity mindset, that this is a limited resource, that there is not plentiful amounts of food that I can have access to throughout the day. And underlying this is a fear of hunger. There is a fear that if I eat too much earlier in the day, I won't have enough allowed for when I inevitably get hungry later. So instead, I'll eat less now and make sure I've got enough remaining for if and when I get hungry in the future, which will generally leave the body in a state of reactive hunger towards the later stages of the day because it has sensed that scarcity and that restriction throughout the day. That is a perfectly reasonable biological response from your body. It has not had enough access to food throughout the day, so it is going to send a lot more signals at night when it feels safe. But if we are in real recovery, we have to action this belief and this notion of unconditional permission to eat, that there is abundant access to food, and we have to show our body that we are in that place of abundance all throughout the day. If we are in that recovery phase, it has to be satisfying our hunger at every single opportunity. It is no good to only satisfy that hunger at night. That's not the same thing as full recovery. That is very conditional permission to eat. I can only satisfy my hunger at night. We need to be showing our bodies that we have that permission at every eating opportunity throughout the day. There are a few theories around why eating at night feels safer, why it feels safer to have an abundance of food at night. One is that in the evening, the body naturally shifts into a rest and digest state. This parasympathetic state is often what allows feelings of hunger to arise. If you've got an eating disorder, it's not uncommon for you to be in quite a heightened state of stress throughout the day. And that activation of the sympathetic nervous system can often blunt hunger cues. If we subscribe to the adapt to flee famine theory of eating disorders, it makes complete sense that we are primed to be stressed throughout the day because we are migrating, and that it is a safer time to eat and to rest and recover at night in order to get ready to do the same thing the next day. And even if we don't subscribe to that theory, it is pretty common for people with an eating disorder, especially those in recovery, to still be very stressed throughout the day. There's also this tactic of not wanting to be really full, to want to be very hungry so that you can enjoy eating lots in the evening. But ultimately, we have to recognize this as a delay tactic by the eating disorder. This idea that you want to really enjoy it. And there very often is something very ritualistic, something that you have taught your body to want, and there is a safety in that ritual of eating a lot at night. It's often away from others, from any sort of perceived judgment, and it can be highly rewarding from a lot of different angles. And yes, it will likely be particularly rewarding if you have restricted all day. But inevitably there is a backlash. This restrict and feast cycle creates a lot of backlash. It perpetuates itself. So at some point, we need to break that cycle. So we've established that this is very common and that there are a number of physiological and psychological reasons that this might exist. And again, there is nothing wrong with eating a lot at night. Where this becomes problematic is in the cycle that it creates, in the fact that it very often leads to restriction the following day, and then more feasting at night followed by restriction. It is not the feasting that is the problem. It is that is a trigger for the restriction. And we want to ensure that that restriction isn't happening at any point throughout the day, because if it is, that is only going to be keeping that ED neural network alive. Regularity of eating and adequacy of eating are two of the first things that we want to address in eating disorder recovery. This ensures that there is more than enough food coming in regularly throughout the day. This creates that sense of abundance through the day so that it is not being saved up for the nighttime. It helps your body trust that food is abundantly available whenever it wants, whenever it is possibly hungry. It's also worth looking at the types of food that you typically consume much more in the evening. It's pretty common for those to be foods that you don't eat during the day, that they are put on a pedestal for your nighttime ritualistic eating. And again, this comes back to that idea of it's being restricted. It is a different form of restriction, but it is not available to you throughout the day. And it is very important that we start to bring those foods into your daily routine, into your daily meal plan, into your daytime eating. If we do this over and over, it will neutralize that food. It takes it down from that pedestal. It is not a special food. It is not a ritualistic food. It just becomes food, like every other food. It is abundantly available whenever you want. And so the key thing to recognize here is that this is a sign that your body is hungry, and it is only communicating that really strongly at night. We want to open up that connection to your hunger throughout the day. And as hard as it might be, I think it can be very helpful in the first place for this to become a very mechanical process. It is likely that you will not want to do that there will be huge resistance, that you will want to still have that buffer, that you will want to still have that highly rewarding experience at the end of the day. And that's where I'm saying, yes, we can honor that hunger at night, but we have to also honor it throughout the day and take that feasting at night as the message that your body's hungry. There's a lot that it wants. And we can also show it abundance throughout the day. And it is so important to build that body trust, to build in the fact that yes, food is abundantly available at all times of day. Get used to asking yourself, where can I show my body abundance in the day? Where can I show it abundance in the evening too? It is not an either or, it is definitely an and. And as I say, to begin with, this may have to be very mechanical eating, but it is worth it to establish that regularity and that adequacy. So if you're in this phase, just know there is nothing wrong with you. This is a very reasonable response from your body. And there are things that can be done to increase that regularity, to make it feel like this cycle can stop. But the key thing here is you're going to have to stop it. You're going to have to do the hard work, dig in deep, and mechanically eat perhaps during the day. So if you're in this phase, if you recognize this pattern of eating where you restrict during the day and you feast at night, just know that it is so normal, that there is an end to it if you continue to show your body abundance at all times. Let me know if you've got any thoughts around this. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover. But as always, I love to chat, so talk soon.